Hi Vikash, I know this is a day late and a box short for a capstone project, but since we discussed it before, I thought I might give you an idea about where things are at this time with what your course inspired me to do. So, my school project now has a website. It has a backing LLC company. It's called Kaleido, uh, single owner, me, and it has at least three customers waiting for me to finish the infrastructure work and eager to get going. What it doesn't have yet, though, is a demo, because it turns out that it takes forever to complete all the legal stuff required to send text messages, to open a bank account, to get a merchant of record account, whatever. Even though it's technically ready, it turns out that things like terms and conditions page or the pricing section of the website are really important to get the business going. And I'm almost ready with them, and hopefully a fully functional version can be launched by the end of the month. But yeah, not being able to do a demo yet. However, in terms of the project, here we go. Assistant.ai. Assistant.ai is a SaaS platform that bridges between AI chatbots and traditional chat-like communication channels like SMS, WhatsApp, RCS, Discord, this kind of stuff. Essentially, Assistant.ai makes it possible for a customer that developed a few AI chatbots and which they use currently with a web form kind of an interface. So it makes it possible to expose these AI chatbots over a communication channel, a chat-like channel. If those chat ecosystems are the places where the business, my customer, finds the most efficient and responsive advertising, then that's where they want to follow up with their users after a marketing campaign. And for many companies, this turns out to be a big hurdle, like a square peg in a round hole kind of a thing. How do you take these AI dialogues and make them available on where my customer comes from, right? Because a chat is more interactive, more personalized. It's closer to the life of the user compared to email and web browsing. I know this is not a lot of business, but I'm not hitting for a lot necessarily. It's just using a niche. You taught me, find your niche play, get some customers. So it's a niche plug that I'm trying to exploit, and I'm pretty confident that I can do it on a tight budget. So starting from the needs of the businesses that I heard from, which are all mid-markets in size, they do have AI solutions in place. Their problem is that AI doesn't fit properly into the range of confinements that chat mobile first application is relegated to. Pain points are messages are too long, chat completions have trouble interpreting short messages from the user. There's a dubious persona that the chatbot embraces at times. I had, in one case, a customer's chatbot message getting flagged because of suspected prohibited content, all sorts of stuff. So, what are we going to productize here? Well, first of all, a dispatcher assistant, AI assistant. Essentially, the dispatcher AI assistant is invoked and runs on every message received from the mobile user. Uh, Here, the slide explains it better. The dispatcher doesn't actually create a response for the user. It creates a response for the assistant.ai system, which is basically selecting one of the registered AI agents, custom agents from our customer. It selects one of the customer's own agents that's registered with us. Each AI agent that the customer registered has a name, has a description of what it's capable of, and based on a recent chunk of prior dialogue history with the user, it would qualify to be selected as the best customer AI agent to continue the conversation further with the user. For example, if the customer is a hardware store and the user is interested in tool rentals, which it's a little off from selling items core business of the hardware store, my customer would have a particular rentals chatbot that would walk the user through the selection of not only the product but the time of duration of the rental, the availability lookup, the reservation process, and so on. That's different from what their sales agent is prepared for. The sales agent is only scan items in the shopping cart, go to payment, right? Or let's say the customer is a bank and the user wants to know the balance of his account. There's going to be an AI agent that signs with them in, that signs the user in, authenticates them, and this one will go first, and then only after that the AI agent that retrieves information from their account can operate. And all this agent selection thing will be orchestrated by the assistant.ai dispatcher. So now the dispatcher assistant is the only component that runs on my own expenses, and the other agents are running on my customers' expenses. And that dispatcher assistant, given its limited and tightly framed job, is doing well on a very inexpensive LLM. Its own determination is not even part of the overall dialogue with the user. That part is extracted. But yeah, what happens behind the curtains is that assistant.ai, after selecting the customer AI agent, it runs it on their own subscription, on their favorite LLM, right? It gets the response, and since we added some extra prompting, I'll talk about it in a second, the result should be already almost ready to go on a chat communication channels. It works pretty well. For example, I've got good experience telling ChatGPT to use a catalog of products from a Squarespace website and then present the products as an RCS carousel image with an add to cart button for each item. The resulting JSON formatting for RCS was literally spot on, but ready to go as a message content on the RCS channel. So when I said extra prompting, what was I talking about? That would also be part of the assistant.ai service. It would be an overriding prompt, custom designed, and forever experimented and refined. So it's pretty much extra prompt fluff that will be added to each request to the customer AI chatbot. This extra prompt defines the properties of the response. We make it aware of the channel capabilities. For example, if the channel is accessed via REST API, the documentation of that API is used to create the proper JSON structure to send the message on that channel. What else? It's got a nanny part of the prompt, as I call it, which will try to prevent compliance situations. For example, for SMS, there's a whole compliance handbook out there written by CTIA that needs to be looked at to make sure that the message is compliant. No guns, no drugs, some of the content needs to be age-gated, and so on. Those rules also vary when you send messages to other countries, so it's going to become interesting at one point adapting to the rules of some country or another. It will also contain customization about the business persona that the customer AI chatbot needs to embrace. It will be, programmed to use their logo, their colors in the messages, and so on. So that is what the top prompt, the governance prompt, the nanny prompt, I don't even have a good name for it yet. That is what actually this extra prompt is in charge for. It comes over and embraces the user agent, the customer agent prompt. It will cover and prefix the customer system prompt with mostly technicalities to adapt to the rules of the communication channel. Now, of course, the customer being in control of their own AI agent, they can make their AI agent better or worse. They can add documents to a RAG store. They can provide user catalogs, routine procedures like authentication, this kind of stuff. To emphasize, the role of assistant AI is in this whole game is just to pass the messages back and forth between customer AI agent and the user, and to make sure they fit through the communication channels, not taking any role in customers' business knowledge. So you can actually talk about the prompt stack and AI stack of the whole system. Here's that old pyramid graphic and how it applies here. You have the tip of the stack that just deals with selecting the agent who's in charge. That's a technicality. It's not even part of the conversation. It only extracts some context from the ongoing conversation. Then comes the channel messaging prompt, which controls the communication globally and does all the adaptation functions that we spoke about for the communication channel. And then there's the customer's AI chatbot, which they control themselves. They teach it, they train it, they send it to the gym, whatever. But that's their property. We can offer some guidance and suggestion for it, but in the end, it's their stuff and how they develop it. One more thing to add here, I will provide the meta outputs as a source for QA. I'm not going to talk about compliance, that's more of an internal thing, but capturing user sentiment, measuring response time, size of the user messages as metric of engagement, all these things, asking for a 1 to 5 star rating at the end. That's a feedback loop that's easy to provide and inexpensive. And from what I've seen since ever AI broke into the big news, the major source of anxiety for the potential AI infrastructure is how they measure the dialogue effectiveness and accuracy, because there are so many stories about ridiculous hallucination. Okay, so that's a good segue into the pricing model. I'm going to switch here to the website, which is still under development. That temporary URL I'm going to post in the canonical document. But in the end, it will be assistant.ai. So most of what I talked about so far can be found here, explained in a more user accessible way. Okay, so pricing, and it's not much about the pricing per se, the numbers are still arbitrary, but more about the pricing structure. The idea here is to, number one, offer a good way to see the product in action, and that's the free tier. Number two, get people attracted to try it on. A lot of times this price point would be the workhorse paid plan that covers most of the needs for a medium business. 5 agents is not that big of a deal. And number three is more like enterprise agency, stuff like that, power users that know how to develop multiple AI agents. But if you read down here, the price is really not for a monthly subscription, but essentially for a completed user dialogue. Practically, a dialogue is a window in time where both the chatbot and the user are actively engaged in a conversation, and that conversation leads to a happy user after all. That's how I see the fair way to charge a customer, based on a completed dialogue with a high degree of customer satisfaction. And if $2 seem to be too steep, or $1.50 seems to be too steep for a dialogue, compare it to a mediocre call center agent with like average training in the business that is paid like $30 an hour to provide hopefully the same quality of response. Okay, so that was it. Fun story, but real. I chose Google GCE as my deployment platform because I worked with it lately and I feel more comfortable with their cloud offering. As soon as I registered the domain names with them and started to deploy the static website and the docs and started registering business accounts and so on, they called me on the phone. the GC team, the Google team, called me. Pre-screening, 1 hour, very competent conversation. Then yesterday I had like a 30 minutes meeting with 4 guys, 2 of them with google.com email addresses. They asked me about my plans, my budget. I told them my budget sucks. What budget? I don't have any. And they told me they will support Kaleido for a year as long as it doesn't go over 20,000 bucks. And I'll take it. Surprisingly great deal, and not even ask for any kind of input from them. Anyways, to put an end to it, I was telling you this could be a good foundation for a lifestyle retirement business. It only engages me enough so I don't get bored doing nothing. I literally don't plan more than that for myself and my wife. My wife has designed IVR flows and all her life, and she's a telecom geek as well. And if we spend our next few years designing chatbots on our own platform, that would be a great deal for us. Hopefully we can extract a few years from it, considering the pace at which everything is growing up and moving around AI. One thing to know is your course has been really inspiring. It's built a strong foundation in a very organized way, and yes, it's time to realize that AI is part of us, and we might as well embrace it rather than have an opinion about it. Thank you very much, Vijesh. It's been a great course, literally. Thank you so much.